Oh yeah, Didi got a podcast.
So wait, is Didi jealous or upset that TPUSA did not send him and Brian a cease and desist letter? I'm not understanding. Wait, what? No, no, that's not the case at all. All right, it's about 6 o'clock in the morning where I am, and if you can't tell just by looking at me, I literally jumped out of the bed and came straight to this computer so I can record this video. Because I'm getting a lot of backlash right now for the live that I did last night. And if this is not proof to you all that I care about my reputation, about my credibility, and that I do appreciate when people give me pushback when they disagree. If this doesn't communicate, if this don't communicate that to you, nothing ever will. So our friend over at Zach from Wolves and Finance dropped a video talking about a cease and desist letter that Erika, Kirk, and Turning Point USA sent to him, which was an incredible video. I went live last night with Brian, the auditor, who I've said multiple times is the first person. It's just a fact. He's the first person that dropped the audit on the Turning Point USA. In the live, I gave 6 reasons why, because a lot of you all were emailing me and DMing me asking, had I received a cease and desist letter as of yet, for obvious reasons, because I was blessed enough to interview Brian, who reached out to me. I had never heard of Brian before, and he was the first person on the internet that conducted an audit. So I had him on the show because it made the most sense to invite him so that we can react to this together and try to figure out why would they send a cease and desist letter to anyone who's doing their own investigation of Turning Point USA. And it was a bit weird to us that they would start with someone that wasn't even the first person to do the audit. That's not a knock on Zach when I say that he's not the first one. Remember, I didn't even conduct the audit. It's not about jealousy. It would be dishonest for me to say I don't understand how you all can see it that way. I do understand now, but before, that's not even remotely what I was thinking. That's not my perspective. Jealousy, give us the credit. I don't deserve any credit. It's somebody else's work. I'm not coming from the perspective of, hey, look at Brian, give him credit. What I'm saying is it is completely fair game to wonder, one, why would they send that out to anyone? It's a bad look on Turning Point USA. Number 2, it's not fair to send it to Zach. I'm not asking for a cease and desist. I'm not saying Brian should receive a cease and desist. We're trying to consider all potential possibilities. I'm going to read, because a lot of this is going to be on the phone. Let me read some of the comments. I went ahead and made the video private because I don't want more people to see this and take it the wrong way. But these comments, I was just laying in bed and I'm like, okay, I got to get up half asleep and just come to the people which I care about, my authenticity, my reputation, my credibility. I care about those things. That's extremely important on this channel. So when I'm hearing this, I'm like, wait, what? Okay. Someone said, Didi, you say call you out when you're wrong, which I say that often. And I meant that. And I'm standing on that in this moment. So here it is. This video is petty. Like, who cares who said what first? This video comes off arrogant and immature. And why do you accuse everyone, including Candace, of being controlled opposition? Your channel is getting weird and obsessive. Interesting. I used to enjoy your content, but you've changed, or perhaps this is your true colors. How have I changed? If you didn't get a letter, you should be grateful, but this video feels off. You're turning into the very thing you make all your videos about. You research a lot on the occult, and if you're not careful, that stuff can get to you. So, okay. First and foremost, I respect your comment. If you see this video, and even if you don't see this video, to anyone else, if you disagree with me on my takes, I encourage you to do exactly what this person is doing. This person says, Didi, you say you call you out when you're wrong. So here it is. This video is petty. Like, who cares who said what first? It doesn't matter who said what first from a giving them credit perspective. That was never the reason why I said it. The reason why I say, as I've already stated, why that matters, that absolutely matters, for the reason of trying to figure out why they would send a cease and desist letter to who and when. Like I said, I may receive one tomorrow, or God forbid, Brian may receive one. I hope we don't. But what I'm saying is, Zach was asking the question, why would they start with him? I'm asking the same question as well. If you're authentically and genuinely trying to figure this out, unbiased, you look at this and say, why are they targeting this poor guy when he wasn't even the first one to do it? Wouldn't you want to go after the person? Or to Brian, the auditor's point, or how about you don't even care who conducted the audits? Wouldn't you go after the person with the largest platform that's bringing attention to this audit?
As he said, he's a very small channel. Why isn't Jimmy Dore getting a letter? And maybe he will. Why isn't Candace getting a letter? Why isn't Ian Carroll getting a letter? Baron Coleman? Because really, Turning Point shouldn't care who made the first video. They should care who's amplifying it the most. If this is all about cease and desist, Jimmy Dore has 1 million plus subscribers. His video went nuclear covering wolves in finance. And so I would expect him to get a letter this week.
Right? So it doesn't matter who conducted the audit. Whoever the biggest content creator is, whoever has the largest following, if they're bringing attention to it, why not go after them for platforming something that you disagree with? It's a fair game to consider the possibility that there are other explanations that we haven't explored yet. And let me make sure I state this for the record before I forget. I don't call everyone controlled opposition. As it pertains to Candace Owens, let's say, for example, if you drop a video and you say certain words that are trigger words on YouTube and the video gets suppressed or it gets shadow banned or it gets demonetized, but then another person with a larger platform drops the same or drops a video on the same topic and they're saying the same words you're not allowed to say, but their video goes on to do millions of views, whether it's monetized or not, it's still reaching the masses. Wouldn't it be objective to at least question, why is that person able to say the words that I'm not allowed to say? That's a fair game, bro. For example, Nick Fuentes and the PDF file situation. I just dropped a video, it barely did like 20,000 views or whatever it did, right? Because of the topic that I was covering, even though I edited out the inappropriate words in the video. I literally edited it out. Candace covered the same topic with Nick Fuentes. She didn't edit out any of it. So the PDF file, the actual word, all of those things were said in the video. The video still performed extremely well. It's fair to question why some people can do that and some can't. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Maybe her video is demonetized, but she's still able to reach people because of her following. I don't know, but it's fair to question it. I don't call everybody controlled opposition. I did not ever in yesterday's live call Zach controlled opposition with 100% certainty. I entertained the possibility because that is a possible explanation, just like it's a possible explanation that Charlie Kirk could have been in on what happened on September 10th. It's very possible that he had no clue and he is truly a victim. But you have to entertain these possibilities. For you to say, no, don't entertain it, but especially don't entertain it publicly because how it could come off is not how I run things. I try to be open about what I'm really thinking about and considering. And the moment, once again, it's disproven, we knock it off the list and we move to the next potential explanation. And if you're familiar with my type of content, especially if you're a person like Candace, who delves into what many people will call conspiracy theories, I'm sure she would understand from everybody else's point of view why they can look at a multimillionaire like herself, look at the fact that she got married so fast, look at her husband's history, and question certain things. But if you're Candace Owens and you know about certain things in the world, you should understand that people are coming from a genuine place trying to understand who you could potentially be. But if you know who you are and you're Candace, I wouldn't get upset. I would be like, you know what? I understand why you think that. Let me help you see it differently. It's not about jealousy. It's not about disliking people. It's about trying to truly see something for what it could be. That's it, y'all. I also want to state for the record, this person says, Didi, I used to like your content, but you're changing. I've seen people comment that under other people's videos, like AJ, the guy ALEXJONES. I've seen people say that about him and others as well. So I think this person right here just wants to say that about somebody, and he or she is using me as an example, because if you scroll down my timeline, literally nothing has changed about my content as it relates to over the past 3 months in Turning Point USA. I've kept my foot on their necks. I've done more research. How has it changed? What are you talking about? And as it pertains to the other content on my channel, yeah, I haven't covered it as much because I've been hyper focused on Turning Point USA. But the angle or the way in which I approach these topics has literally been consistent, bro. So what are you talking about here? So the comment that I went ahead and pinned under the video before I made it private, the person said, so Brian wants to be sued as the original audit researcher. I found that was a weird take from both Brian and Didi, especially thinking Zach is controlled opposition, ? This is especially important if Zach sees this video. I said this in the live. I guess it didn't go a long way at all. Zach and I have spoken behind the scenes a couple of times. Zach has given me a shout out on his channel. Zach comes off as a very genuine, comes off as a very polite person, very kind person. But you have to understand, and I'm going to read this in a reply that I sent to someone, actually to this comment, where I'm going to address that. So actually, instead of double talking, I'm going to just read you all my response. Before I do that, there was an immediate reply under this comment of someone saying, while I do listen to Didi, he hasn't liked Zach a single day of his podcast since Candace gave him credit. And then that video was taken down and redone. Okay, I didn't even realize the last part. What video was taken down and redone? I didn't make any video about Zach. I didn't make any video speaking on it and then taking it down and redoing it. I've never done that. I don't even know what that will look like on my channel, redoing a video. That's not a common thing that I'm into doing. Also, before I forget this part, let me make sure I say this. The notion that I've had a problem or I've been upset with Zach since Candace Owens responded to his video instead of Brian's audit that was featured on my channel, it's a ludicrous. I wasn't upset with Zach. I wasn't jealous of Zach. I was just confused. And to pretend that you don't understand that is completely disingenuous. So, for example, if you're a basketball player and you score 60 points in 3 quarters and you choose to sit out the 4th quarter because your team is blowing out the opposition, so it's no reason for you to get back into the game and just rack up a bunch of points, people typically deem that as very sportsmanlike, and I would agree. But if you were to do that, ESPN rarely covered it, but then 2-3 years later, or 6 months later, James Harden or another great player comes along and does the same exact thing, and all of a sudden the media is all over it. They won't stop talking about it like it's never been done before. You're going to, at the very least, sit back and wonder, why are they pretending that that's never happened before? Why are they pretending this is their first time seeing this? That's completely natural. It makes sense to think that. And if you were in my position, you would also wonder the same thing. It's not about jealousy. It's just trying to figure these things out. That is, if you're being honest. But here's my response. I said, okay, what an absolutely mind-boggling statement to make. So first and foremost, my first question would be, have you watched any of my content not related to Charlie Kirk? I'm going to assume the answer is no, obviously, because anyone who watches enough of my content would know that we always consider all possibilities as to why something could be. I don't dislike Zach. I am simply trying to understand why TPUSA would threaten to sue someone who wasn't the original auditor. That's a fair thing to wonder. Completely unrelated to this, the deep state usually will have pawns or agents that pretend to be fighting the cause, and then they quote unquote cave in to influence others to do the same. I've spoken about this with Tupac. If you've watched my Tupac series, I've spoken about this with P. Diddy. This is a common thing. I'm not accusing Zach of that. I'm openly, which I thought I was allowed to do with you all, I'm just openly brainstorming what the potential solutions could be. And I'm going to read you all my 6 reasons why I don't believe I'm going to receive a cease and desist. And I spoke about that. I'm going to read them to you. And the 6th reason was the reason I got the backlash, which I understand from you all's perspective why you would feel that way. But I'm just clearing it up for you all so you can understand, because this is going to be a perspective I'll have about other topics completely unrelated to me, completely unrelated to Charlie Kirk, completely unrelated to Candace Owens, because this is a common thing that happens with the quote unquote deep state, shadowy government, whatever you want to call it. So I say completely unrelated to this, the deep state usually have pawns that pretend to be fighting the cause, and then they cave in to influence others to do the same, which clearly Zach did not do in this video, right? So I was telling you all what I would have, and I said this in the live, what I would have originally thought if it was someone other than Zach. Not that Zach can't be possibly controlled opposition either, but what I'm saying is, and I said this in the live, Zach has literally donated money to my channel, right? And he's reached out to me personally, and we've spoken behind the scenes. So what I told Zach directly in that live, I said, Zach, I'll remove you from the situation. If it was anyone else in your position, a possibility that I would have is that this person could be controlled opposition, but we're going to get to that. I'm not stating anything as a fact, but only brainstorming potential explanations. Again, if you watch my other content, you would know this is perfectly in line with how my thought process works. I've literally considered the same possibilities with both Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk. And if you don't know what that means, I agree with a lot of things that Charlie Kirk said. Some things I did not agree with, right? But I'm more conservative leaning. Charlie Kirk was more conservative leaning. So we have more in common than we did not. But I also considered the possibility that Charlie Kirk could have been in on the psyop of what happened on September 10th. Does that mean that I'm hating on Charlie Kirk? Does that mean that I have something against Charlie Kirk? No. It just means I know how these things work. Other major historical events that have happened in this country, you have to consider all different possibilities, because they'll get over on you because they know for obvious reasons you won't consider certain things. Candace Owens, I've made, I don't know how many videos on this channel agreeing with Candace on a lot of different topics. But guess what? I have a video speaking about the quote unquote suspicious rise of Candace Owens' career, whether she had something to do with it or whether it be unbeknownst to her, other powers that be maybe could have platformed Candace Owens to use her. Even though she was well intentioned, they used her for other agendas. I literally have an entire video digging into the history, digging into her husband's history, his family ties. Does that mean that I hate Candace Owens? No. It means that you have to be objective and you have to be unbiased as possible to do this type of work. Because if I just say I'm more conservative leaning, Candace is too, I love how she fights against the powers that be, I love how she's unapologetic, I'm not going to question anything. That's what you call a cult, and you're being too close-minded, and some things can slip past you. So this is just me being objective. That's all that means. Once it's been disproven, we move to other potential explanations. Don't lie and state that I don't like Zach, which is not true. I don't know the brother. And the interactions that we've had have always been pleasant and very respectful. I've given him shout out on my channel. He's given me shout outs on his channel. Or that me and Brian wants to be sued. We do not. We just understand the world is a lot more complex than regular people realize, and sometimes there are psyops within psyops. And the only way to recognize or discover that is by actually entertaining the possibility first. As stated in the video, Zach most likely is a genuine person they are targeting, and unbeknownst to him, using him to scare others away from doing the same good work that he's done so far. Zach did a great job dismantling TPUSA in this video. Another compliment both me and Brian gave to Zach many times in this live. Don't leave that out either. Peace. And then someone else commented, we should all send a very sweet message to Didi that a lot of us feel this way. We know Brian gave us the info and wanted him protected. I thought we weren't supposed to be bragging about what he said. Zach did go to the P.O. box and dug into a few of the people, so his research was a little deeper. Now, I should have screenshotted my response, but I see the beginning of it. I said, I love Zach's audit a lot, but Brian's was pretty deep as well. It was only 2.5 hours long of him digging into the history of Turning Point USA, the financial records of multiple different years, and he even did research on many of the people. I love Brian's work. I love Zach's work. It's not about which one was better. It's about objectively analyzing, what could best explain why they did this. Both of them did a very detailed analysis, Doge-style analysis of Turning Point USA. So me brainstorming here at home, I said, one, the reason why I believe I won't receive one is because Candace actually shared Zach's video. She never shared Brian's audit. And so that's another completely different level for obvious reasons of attention and eyes that are being placed on your work. So I was wondering, I wonder if they did it because they said, well, this is the one that she focused on, so let's go after him to use him as an example. I started off the video with stating that's the first reason. Tim Pool was another one that reacted to Zach's. Jimmy Dore. I love Jimmy Dore's channel. Jimmy Dore also reacted to Zach's. He has over 1 million subscribers on YouTube alone and a pretty nice size following on X. So that was the first reason why I said, no, I don't think they care about it because the larger platforms didn't share it. Candace commented under Brian's work, yes, but she didn't platform it, which is a completely different level of attention for obvious reasons. Another reason why I say I don't believe that I'll receive a cease and desist is because I didn't actually do an audit, as I've stated multiple times. I don't want any credit here. I genuinely do not. It's somebody else's work. So why would I be receiving a cease and desist? Somebody who don't have a large platform compared to other people, and I'm not an accountant. Zach is an actual accountant, and he's based out of Arizona. All right, 2 audit videos. From my understanding, Zach did a second audit video as well, if I remember correctly. So that's another level of pressure that's been applied to TPUSA. Another reason I said was quote unquote boots on the ground, which was what I just stated. Zach, to my understanding, is in Arizona. The man went to the freaking P.O. box. He's making videos of him going to these locations of where these, these dollars, this money, these donations are either going or coming from. That's a different level of pressure on Turning Point USA. So maybe they said he's more local. He's actually going in person, and he's an accountant, and he has history auditing other powerful politicians in, I believe, the state of Arizona. Let's go after him for this reason. And Zach is an accountant. I've already covered that. And then the last one, the potential possibility that maybe Zach, what if Zach was sent to do an audit of Turning Point USA. They then threaten to sue Zach. Zach complies, and that signals to everyone else, follow in Zach's footsteps. Because as you can see, Zach had the same intentions as you all, but look what happened when he was threatening to sue. If you don't want it to happen to you, do the same thing. But that's not what Zach did. So in the live, I said, remove Zach's name, replace him with anybody else. I will look at that and say, that could potentially explain what's happening. The crazy part is that the very first thing that Brian, the auditor, said is that maybe that could be a possibility, being that he found it a bit strange that after his audit dropped, just, I believe, like 4 days later, Zach from Wolves and Finance also dropped an audit, which to Zach's credit wasn't some copy and paste version of Brian's audit. No, you can tell that he did independent research that covered other bases and other topics. I love Zach's audit. And I believe, as also stated in the live, that based on Zach's rebuttal to Turning Point USA, it's pretty clear that it's very unlikely that the number 6 possibility could be true, because he did an incredible job of not only dismantling each and every point from the cease and desist letter, but he made Turning Point USA look even worse. Anyone that watches that video would only have more questions and suspicions about Turning Point USA. And we ranted and raved and bragged on Zach the entire live about that. He did a great job. So let me just say, it's fair that you all would hold the positions. I'm not discouraging you from doing that. I appreciate it. But when something is being misconstrued or my perspective is being misrepresented, I like to clear that up. It's not about jealousy, people. It's about actually trying to just entertain what could best explain these things. And if you check out my deep dives, my Martin Luther King documentary, think about that. I'm a so-called Black American. Martin Luther King is one of, if not the most revered person in the Black community. He's easily top 2 or 3, up there with Jesus Christ himself. I made an entire documentary stating, despite the fact that he's done great work, did a lot of things, meant well, who was funding and backing Martin Luther King Jr.? Imagine the type of emotions I would have to set aside to put a video like that together. Imagine the bias I would have to set aside. I'm objectively trying to look at the world for the way in which I wasn't taught to look at it or view it growing up as a child. And the biggest question from that documentary, which is what the bonus edition on Patreon is well over 2 hours, but the regular version here on YouTube is almost 2 hours. It's like an hour and a half, hour, 50 minutes or something. And the biggest question, which I posed at the beginning, and I'm going to pose it here. If we can all agree that there was a point in time in America where things were openly racist, right? Education system, the police force, the government, politics, healthcare, and the list goes on. There was a time where it was systemically racist and you couldn't question it. And years before that, they were openly lynching and hanging so-called Black Americans. Here's my question to you all, even in the 50s and 60s, when that wasn't as prevalent as it was before. If Martin Luther King Jr. was such a threat, why did they not just pow him from the beginning? The moment he got a little bit of buzz, why did they not just take him out right at the beginning? I answered that question as to why I believe that is in that documentary. That's a fair question. If so many facets is racist, and you see this person gaining this prominence, it's not like he was Malcolm X and a part of the Nation of Islam where they have security and brotherhood that's super militant. You can't make that argument for Martin Luther King Jr. He was about peace. He was about being loving. He was about turning the other cheek, right? Why would they not take him out right away? And I think a lot of us know why. Because he was being used for other agendas. That's all. I'm just entertaining it. The moment it's disproven, we pivot to the next one. Zach, brother, if you see this, and oh yeah, let me state this for the record. I also extended an invitation for Zach to come on to the podcast last night, but I don't think he saw it in time. So I plan to have Zach on at some point. And for the record, I would have stated that being a possible solution, a possible explanation with Zach on the live with me. I would have told him, Zach, anybody else, I would have entertained this possibility. I would have 100% thought that was a possible possibility. But after watching your video, you did a great job of dismantling them, which again, Brian and I did a great job of saying over and over in the live. All right. As always, man, y'all hop in the comment section. I love the pushback. I love that y'all are honest with me, but I want to be honest with y'all as well whenever y'all misinterpret my perspective, right? If I say something and I stand on it and you disagree with it, then we can agree to disagree. But in this case, you're not understanding where I'm coming from at all. Love y'all as always, man. Hop in the comment section. Give me your thoughts. I'm Demetrius. I go by Didi. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.
Oh yeah, Didi got a podcast.